Where does this come? Hello, my friends, in my Financial Algebra 2 class. Today, I am joined by my wonderful friend, Melody. Melody and I have been friends since the summer of 2002, so just a couple of years. And currently, Melody lives over on the other side of the United States. Melody is our expert, so she's going to kind of walk us through about taxes and things like that. So, Melody, thank you so much for joining us in our class. If you'd like, go ahead and give a brief introduction of who you are, your career, your schooling, how did you get into taxes, things like that.
Sure, absolutely. Nice to meet you guys. My name's Melody. I started my tax career back in 2017. I graduated from college. I started off at Central Washington University over in Ellensburg, and then I transferred to Colorado Tech University online. I finished my degree online. It was a good option for me because I needed to do more virtual stuff, raising a family and all that fun things. I started working with a tax accountant in Kittitas and mostly answering phones, but I also worked on individual taxes and kind of integrated some business taxes into that. Started my own bookkeeping business in 2018. That was mostly just for businesses, keeping track of income and expenses, helping them do payroll, stuff like that. In 2021, I started working with Intuit part-time, started doing cleanup for bookkeeping, and then currently I am a lead. I help experts manage phone calls with customers, asking all sorts of different questions about payroll tax. That's really my specialty is the payroll tax space and, basic bookkeepings, 1099 forms, things like that. So
Yeah.
my personal business, I do all the things. I wear all the hats, business taxes, income taxes, payroll, bookkeeping, all that. So
Yeah.
it's
And
great.
you said your lead, which is a new promotion, so congratulations.
Thank
Um,
you.
and you get to do all of this from home, right?
Yes, I work 100% virtual.
That's really, really, really nice. Really, really nice. And then of course you and your husband just bought a new house in the last year and a half
Mhm.
year.
Yep.
So very exciting. Cool. Well, what I'd like to start out with is just kind of talking about taxes and what should individuals look out for taxes. So to begin, why don't you kind of give us a level 101, 100, 101 of what taxes are?
So taxes are contributions that we pay to federal, state, or local governments that help fund our life. These taxes, federal income taxes specifically, fund our defense, social programs, highways, anything that we use as citizens of the United States of America. That's where the money goes. We also have other forms of taxes like Social Security and Medicare. These are social programs that help finance or help support the elderly, the disabled. Medicare is insurance for both of those, along with low-income families. So it's all social programs that our taxes pay for that the government uses, for everybody.
And that also goes on a local level to help fund our schools, like where our students, my students are at, or where my own children are at. And so each year, when an individual goes to work, they fill out a form called a W-4, and it's based upon if they're married, if they're not, if they have dependents, or maybe they don't. There's a lot of fluctuations. Sometimes I've recommended people go to the IRS tax withholding calculator to kind of determine what should they enter in. Do you think that that's a good tool, or do you have a different recommendation for that?
Yeah, the W-4 form is a great form. Everyone's going to need to fill one out if they're ever going to be an employee. There is a instruction worksheet that comes along with it that when you're given your W-4, that instruction worksheet should come with it. It does have tax tables. You can ask a tax professional for help filling it out. You can go to the irs.gov website for more information on how to fill that out. Yeah, it'll show
Okay.
you.
Is there a minimum age? So I started working when I was 16. I bought my own car, had my own phone, like helped pay rent towards my parents, stuff like that. Is there a minimum age in which somebody needs to start with their taxes and paying those taxes?
Yeah, so there's a lot of requirements for filing. It's all on the irs.gov website. Typically, you have to have a minimum wage amount that you earned that year. Sometimes it might be specific tax forms you received. So, if you received a tax form from the health insurance marketplace, all of these get reported to the IRS. They know that you're supposed to, you're supposed to file an income tax return based on what they receive. Sometimes there's other reasons you might want to file, so you might not be required to file, but you might be getting a refund. If you don't file your income taxes, you don't get your refund. Depending on your tax situation, you might qualify for tax credits that are refundable to you. So, child tax credit, earned income tax credit, those things are you don't pay the tax, the IRS pays you what you
Yes.
owe. So
Perfect.
there's two situations here. You might be required to file or you might benefit from filing.
So that sounds pretty open-ended. So it's always a good idea to go ahead and file, I guess, is a
Yeah,
probably a good idea. See if you might qualify for something.
yeah.
If to kind of begin the process of completing their taxes, you and I both know we just mentioned we have to have a W-4 we fill out, and that information on how much we get taxed. Another form comes back to an individual called a W-2. Generally, sometimes there's other forms, like if you're self-employed, I tutor on the side, so I get a different form. It's called a 1099. But the W-2 comes back to you. It has to be out, right, January 31st every year from every
Hmm.
business. And the deadline to file your taxes is usually April 15th.
Yep.
So,
Right.
okay, so we know that January 31st through April 15th, that's kind of the timeline to do it. So you would need your W-2 to come back. Are there any other things that someone might need in order to file their taxes? We're talking about 16 through 19 years old for some of my students, but as they get a little bit older, there might be a couple of other things that they might need. But is there anything that they should look out for? Should they keep receipts along the way? Kind of an open-ended question here.
Yeah. So the W-2 form is a form that your employer is required to file to the Social Security Administration, reporting your wages and all of your taxes paid. So you just use that form to file your income taxes. I typically don't see much more than that from, the 16 to 19-year olds. Your parents, if they have retirement accounts in your name, you might have like a 1099-R. If you get Social Security benefits, you might get an SSA form. Those aren't as common, you know. And if you know that you're getting income sourced from the government, you know that you're going to be getting some kind of a tax form at the end of the year.
Um, some of us, like myself, or like even some of my students, one of my students plays in the stock market. He's super good, super smart about it. When somebody has multiple streams of income, how would that kind of go into play with like taxes? I mean, I know for myself, having done, the 1099 for the tutoring on the side, I know that, once I've reached over $600, I'm going to get one of those. But as far as like when you have multiple streams of income, I work for Kennewick School District, Richland School District, Pasco School District. I'm employed with Finley. I'm employed with Prosser. So when I'm filling out all of these W-4s, how does that work when with taxes and having multiple streams of income?
So you use all these tax forms, and depending on what software you use to file, you could use the irs.gov free filing, or you could use a tax software like TurboTax, or there's lots of free options out there. If your income is basic, you have to start paying for third-party softwares or tax prep when your income becomes more complicated. So it's kind of also an open-ended answer here. You got business income. If you're getting a 1099 form from a business, more than likely you're going to be filing a business income tax return, probably on a Schedule C, which is the most common for, individuals, where you report your income from your 1099 form, but then you also deduct qualified business expenses from that income. And so you would be reporting that on that Schedule C form. It's always recommended to keep your receipts. If you're not sure whether it's a qualified business expense or not, there is resources on the irs.gov website about business expenses. It's a huge publication. So go online, use your Control F function to do a search, because you could spend hours reading it, but uh, most of your questions will be answered there. But if you get stuck and can't find it, you can always ask a tax professional or do a Google search online. Yeah, always keep your receipts. You can't deduct expenses as an employee anymore. So if you're not reimbursed for that expense, you're kind of out. But that's really the only, I mean, that could be answered in hours,
Yeah, yeah, and of
really.
course we would not want to take hours, but from you, from our students, from me, things like that. If I personally, I love doing taxes. Before I decided to become a teacher, I looked at being an accountant. I like money. I like looking at numbers. I like Excel. I nerd out with all that kind of stuff. That's my personal thing. If somebody absolutely is terrified and they hate taxes, they're more than welcome to have somebody else file those taxes. That would probably be a least amount of effort kind of thing for someone, would you say?
Yeah,
Um,
and there are volunteer programs from like universities, and maybe your local community is participating. I believe it's the VITA. It's called Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Programs. So
PITA.
you can look into that if you want help. That's free. They're usually offered, during the tax season. So that's a place that you can go if you want some more personalized tax help. Most of these volunteers are college students or just members of the community that want that experience. Sometimes there's professional tax preparers that participate in the program, but it's definitely worth looking into.
Okay, awesome. Years and years and years ago, a different company charged me a bunch of money for a 1099 for the essential oils that I use, and
Mhm.
I feel that it was not a qualitative process where I shouldn't have been charged for that. My students actually just learned about landlords, tenant laws, real estate. They asked about red flags. What about red flags when you're having somebody do your taxes? Is there anything that you would encourage them to look out for?
You want to make sure that they're asking you probing questions. If they just take all your tax forms and they're not asking you specifics, then that's probably a red flag there, that they're just filling it out and making assumptions. They should be asking you for maybe not necessarily receipts, but maybe they should be helping you understand what you should be reporting to them. So a good tax preparer is going to say, uh, is this all of your revenue? Do you have a list of all of your expenses for the year? They need to be categorized. They should be requesting documents to verify that you are who you say you are, social security numbers. Are you married? Do you have kids? All of the basic questions about your life, can affect your taxes. You
Yeah.
want them to that you want to make sure that you're getting the most write-offs that you can, the most credits that you qualify for, that you're reporting all of your income, that you're reporting all of your expenses.
So it sounds like it's part question, but a lot of even educational components, no?
Yeah, um, I mean, they're not going to sit there and educate you for
Sure.
all the things, but
At least
if
what
it,
to include.
yeah, what to include.
Yeah.
If they're asking you for a specific form and you don't know what that means, they should be able to tell you what that form is used for and why it's important, where it would have come from, how it impacts your taxes.
Perfect. Good to know. Awesome. So I think that that's all the time that we have right now for those. I know, Melody, you said that you have a list of answers for everybody. So specifically for my students, we kind of got a synopsis of taxes. What are they used, or what are we going to look out for? What are the things that we would need during our class? What we'll be doing is I will be guiding you through the steps. Of what to input and where to enter in those kind of numbers. What does a 10 or excuse me, a 1099, a W-4, W-2, all those kind of things look like. So those are the components I'll include. But Melody, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time and being able to meet with us and give us some insight on this. So do you have anything else that you would like to maybe conclude or one piece of wisdom or advice or anything else besides keep your receipts?
Yeah, there's two really quick things that I think are really important with taxes. One is there is a filing deadline of April 15th. You get penalties and interest on tax you owe. So a common misconception is the filing deadline is April 15th, and that's also when you're supposed to pay your tax. If you put in an extension and it's late and you owe tax and you don't pay that estimated tax until later, you will be penalized on that. If you are owed a refund, you have 3 years to file your income tax return in order to claim that refund. So if you have to go back 5 years and you had thousands of dollars in the fifth and fourth year, the IRS isn't going to give that money to you. It's forfeit.
That's so sad. You snooze, you
Yeah.
lose.
You snooze, you lose.
Yeah, you get what you
Yep.
get.
You get what you get and you don't throw a fit. But
Exactly.
also, it's never good to try to evade taxes. They don't benefit you. So filing your income taxes is gonna qualify you for some of these social programs. If you've got a business only and you don't have W-2 income, you want to report your business income. You still want to participate in Social Security and Medicare. You are limited on like minimum requirements for contributing to these programs, or you snooze, you lose on those too.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Again, I really appreciate it. And if any of my students have any questions and they want to follow up, I can always reach out to Melody and maybe get a couple more tidbits from her. So, all right. Well, thank you
Absolutely.
so much. I hope you have an awesome day.
You are so welcome. You too. Bye,
Bye.
guys.